Good morning at last, everybody. Good evening, good afternoon, wherever we might be. My apologies for holding you all up. It was my fault today. I got held up on the journey in. So I have to own that, as we like to say. So it's all down to me. We're running a bit behind. But like all good things, they always turn up in the end. So here we are, as per usual, every 2 weeks with our live. And today's all about hair trends, especially for this season moving forward for this year, 2022. We hope the rebirth of the world. I've got my faithful Magic Mike and his magic thumb on camera. There we are. There he is. And further back, we have in-house Abby and a dog, Boone. He's going to be walking around the set at some point, no doubt, when he gets bored listening to me trying to interject on what I'm talking about. So, without further ado, looking behind me, I've got a few friends there. They're more about haircuts on trends, what's going on. It's very sort of heavily fringe-based, but I'll be talking a little bit about the textures and some of the shapes in there. But also, really, the key products for producing these trends. And the number one trend that's come over from last summer and it is still working its way through is this 90s vibe that is going on with hair. So I'm calling it 90s into the early 2000s. A couple of reasons for that, I think, are being revisited. One, very topical, Super Bowl last night. Anyone watch that? Super Bowl party? I'm sure we all did. Who was on there? What era were those stars famous? The 90s, early 2000s. So the influences of the time right now are generally around that age group. I'm past it, I'm over the hill, my lot have gone. Well, we had our chance, we're finished, we're done. We had the 80s going on a decade ago. So the next generation have come forward, and what happens traditionally is they always want to revisit the time when they were growing up, teenage years, 20s, and bring that back to the fore. They always feel that was maybe their best time subconsciously, or when they look the best, so they like to revisit it. And there's also a couple of other influences in there as well. Things like, has hair been the same for quite a long period of time? And we can definitely say colour-wise, it's stagnated for a little while, and now we've seen that trend disappear. And I'm going to go into that in a little bit more depth and explain to you why that is happening. So the 90s trends, one of the big ones was, as we can see from myself, straight hair. Straight hair. We're not talking about flat hair this time around. We're talking about highly polished, smooth hair. And how we achieve that, how that affects colour, how the products we use to achieve that look as well. So smooth hair, we're seeing a lot more of that. I've chosen my little golden collection here, I call it, of what I'd used to create smooth looks. So I'm just going to run through them very quickly, more on a case of like, okay, how do I start prepping the hair to create these trends for smooth looking, wonderful hair? One of my number ones, the Reunite range. This is really peculiar to put and revitalise tired hair from the winter months. Obviously those in the north are still going through it. It's freezing cold up there apparently. Those poor truckers in Canada, God bless them. Good thumbs up for that. Thumbs up from Mike as well. Mike gives him a big thumbs up. Truckers in Canada. It's going all around the world, that one. It's now becoming a political show. I'm trying to get Joe Rogan off the air and take over myself. Anyway, I get sidetracked so easily. Reunite, what is it? So it's a regenerator of hair. It really does revitalise hair. And it's almost like it just replenishes. Now, the beauty of this as well, it calms down scalp inflammations, because of the artichoke in there. So if you do have what I call like a mild dandruff stroke psoriasis, very, very different when you have that actually acute, but I'm talking about really mild. It might just be a dry scalp purely from air conditioning, heat, cold weather, all the combinations of that. It's my number one tool for revitalising hair. This goes back to when we were talking about winter hair as well and what cold hair does to it. So cold air does to the hair. So my Reunite shampoo, conditioner and the treatment, absolutely a godsend for when I want to start producing these beautiful, dead straight, shiny, glossy looks, but not flat. So once I've done that, obviously we're going to use 7 seconds leave-in conditioner. And then I'm going to introduce, first off, I've got a couple of styling products here. I'm going to talk about them individually. Laser Straight has really come back to the fore again. For this has really become a hero product. And we started using this a lot last summer at Fashion Week. We've got a very small team there, by the way, this season. We really didn't go hell for leather on that. We'll be back there again, full bore in the summer, starting at Swim Week in Miami. So anyone who wants to come to Miami, let us know. So Laser Straight got a beautiful, beautiful fragrance. Beautiful. More cowbell, we say. Oh, fantastic. Like a cookie dough scent. It makes you want to drink it. Please don't. But this is a smoothing fluid designed to smooth the cuticle down but not flatten the hair. So although it says Laser Straight, born in the 90s, we almost feel, it's designed to smooth the hair out and start to create really, really nice glossy base. And consequently, I like this on mid-lengths and ends, smooth and shine. Small container, very concentrated, argan oil in there as well, small amount in the hands, just brush through with my hands. So I'm going to use it palms and then just take the hair either side and just run it through just like that. Not like this, but just like that. And you'll just find that is enough over damp hair as well. Can be used over dry hair. It's a hybrid product, so I use that more like a polishing emulsion when I use it on dry hair. But for blow drying, use it with heat, goes in damp, just adds an extra bit of control to your blow dry. And it can be used in conjunction with, I love this, 7 seconds blowout, purely because this is such a great dehumectant, which is very, very important. It's a great, gives great longevity to your blow dry, but it also has that bonus, a bit of good dehumectant. So using that in conjunction with Smooth and Shine allows me to then control the cuticle, because I'll always go on about that. How do I change the fabric of hair? If it has got more like a problem syndrome, it is more prone to exploding off the brush, like with static, or it has a natural frizziness. How do I calm that down? And normally we would go in with acute heat, be it with an iron, even a hairdryer of some sort, and really try and iron that out. But by using something like this that has heat protection, but also flattens the cuticle out, helps you control it, you are then laying down the foundations and making your work a lot easier. And that's going back to Smooth and Shine. I've always found this on what I call compromised hair, especially like pre-bleached hair, heavily coloured hair that's been layered over and over again. It re-elasticizes the hair beautifully, and the brush just rides through it, and then consequently you're then getting the polish on the hair. So why are those important? Not only to close the cuticle, etc., to create the shine, because the way things are going to change as far as hair colour is concerned, and I'm going to talk about that in a second when I finish with these. And then our number one hero product for creating smooth hair, well, of course, Silky Smooth. It's self-explanatory. The thing with this, I advise you to come in and revisit our website about how to use this correctly. And I will still go in and do some more on these on Unite Lives. I want to show you how to introduce this maybe to a client just on someone's fringe. It's heat activated. You can use it with blow dry. You can use it with an iron. You can iron it from wet, which is always, something scary to hairdressers. But trust me, it's about the application of it, how you apply it, how you put it in. It's an absolute hero for controlling hair, and it gives you like a time span of like a week on your finished result. So imagine that, blow drying your hair, and it lasts a week without having to go back into it. And then of course, I've got two types of glossing, I'd like to say. So 7 seconds glossing, self-explanatory, of course I'm going to use that. But I also love, especially if you've got extensions, because not everyone's got a thick, voluminous hair. You Dry Fresh. There was some confusion over this in the other countries that I've been to. I went back to the UK Christmas and just showing them how to use this, how weightless it is. There's no ball bearing in it. It's got a lot of, you see through here, you can see that little haze come out, but it's extremely light. I was using gallons of that in September, and it really has become a favourite product. If I was just doing session work again, I would have a lot of this in my kit, because I can use it on all hair types, and it refreshes the hair when I put a lot of spray in there, etc. Put some of this back in, wide tooth comb, bam, it's good, it's really great, it's finished. So you've got my options there between 7 seconds glossing, You Dry Fresh, and then of course argan oil, which is obviously our other combination product that you can use in wet or dry hair. So another hybrid. I personally don't think you have to use too much of this. I like to build the product up, and we layer it in. Don't make a cocktail of it. Just layer it in one over the other. One little tip I've got going back to Laser Straight. I must remember this because I just did it on someone's hair last week. a bonus that I found that I've revisited purely because this is going back in time. When I used to use this, washing your hair, 7 seconds, apply this, comb it through and leave it. For some reason, I really found if you've got time or if you've got an apprentice in your salon, you're running a little bit behind and you know you've just got to blow dry it, get them to apply a bit of this, comb it through and just leave it on the hair for a couple of minutes and just let it seep in. Just let it soak into the hair, and it really does then give me a lot of traction in the hair and keeping it smooth really, really quickly. Just cut down my blow drying time. So there's my little tip. It's all about the preparation. As we like to say, all the P's, piss poor preparation precedes piss poor performance. So if you don't prep the hair well enough, you're not going to perform on it. Hair's not going to perform for you. So there's my little standout products. Questions regarding any of this, please fire away. Anyone want to say hello? I've been chatting away like crazy, got verbal diarrhea. Mike's going to come in, give me any hellos or any questions.
Nothing yet, so keep them coming, guys.
Okay, no one's there saying hello. All right.
Oh,
okay.
there's some people on here, but nobody's reached out just yet.
All right, come on.
Let
give
us
us
know
your
where
comments.
you're at, what part of the world you guys are in.
That's good. That's good. They're all maybe just listening to me, having their morning coffee or whatever, and a croissant, and wondering what this guy's blabbering on about today. So we've gone over the basics of smoothing hair. Smoothing hair is going to be a real big trend. Is that going to be the death of wavy hair? Absolutely not. All you're finding is that it's just watering down the effects that we're seeing when we were doing the runways, etc., and the hair you're seeing come out. It's going to be very, very interesting when the Oscars are on, because it really is a case of going back to the big red carpet events of what the hair is going to be there. And consequently, I've done something regarding that on this little model here, purely because I watched Death on the Nile at the weekend. Beautiful styling in that. If you're a hairdresser and you like fashion, thoroughly recommend going to watch it. Or if you've got any interest in hair and fashion entirely. And it had this lovely 1930s vibe going on in the hair, showing you how it moved on from the 20s, but it's now got a modern vibe to it. So if you want to learn how to do this little 20s inspiration, come back, come and watch my how to curl it videos, or come back to a future live. You can request it as well, and we'll show you how to do a little reproduction, modernised 30s vibe bob. So I'm hoping you're liking that one. Used in conjunction, obviously, with these products. So colour-wise, what's going to happen as well? Well, if your hair's being smoother, your ombres and that are not going to be as effective, purely because if the hair's being laid out straight, what happens is that fabric of hair then looks very different to what if it's being waved with an iron. An ombre is going to look very, very different. Your colour technique is going to have to be so much stronger in your blend line for it not to look like a solid block of colour from here and then blend it in. You want that real graduation, which is slightly harder and more time consuming to affect. So then colour starts changing, where highlights become a little bit more subtle and not as vibrant as we've seen. And you probably, a little footnote purely because of the COVID pandemic, colours have changed in that people have probably gone more for block colours now. They've grown out a lot of blondes per se. Oh, they just want to get their hair looking healthier and shinier again, wearing their hair natural. So consequently, if you're going to wear your hair straight, you want glossy hair. You don't want it to look textured and blown out and a little bit fried. So that's where a little colour trend is going to just change. It doesn't happen like overnight. It doesn't go from ombre to nothing. It's a little slow process, but it's just a domino effect, and you see it happening more often. People in the public eye, celebrities, etc. Once a few of those get it done, and we've already seen that happen, a lot more of them are going back to sort of just purely more dark all over, or just more muted colours, which is normally a popular thing through the winter months, which goes against my last live, and I was talking about you should maybe keep your colour going through the winter and then deepen it in the summer because it gets bleached out, especially in California. That's another conversation. So that needle gets moved very, very subtly, but it has to stay in line with that family of the hairstyle. So you're going to see much glossier hair because if the hair is being worn straight, smooth, it just looks better with a little bit more shine to it. Sometimes you can go in like super textured, but generally your product choice and the method of colouring is going to be slightly different. So with a strong trend for straight hair, not flat hair, but straight hair and smoothness, you then see a subtle change in the world of colour. You got something there, Mike?
Yeah, we got a few hellos. We got a hello from England, JBS Hair.
JBS?
Yeah.
Great. Where are you listening to us from? Where are you watching? Just always tell us your location.
We got England from JBS Hair.
Well, I'd like to know whereabouts in England. England's slightly bigger than just
California?
just slightly bigger than a town of 2,000, Mike. So it's not bigger than California, definitely not. But it's got nearly 70 million people in the whole of the United Kingdom. So I'd like to know where they are because maybe I've been in that area anyway. They're from my area as well. So
We've got a hello from Hawaii, Marisa.
Aloha. Fantastic.
And Blow Tampa saying hi.
Hi, Blow Tampa.
And
See you in July for Swim Week when we're in Miami. I hope.
Yep. And personal stylist PDX from Portland, Oregon. And they're asking what's on the agenda today.
Right, okay, just a little recap. We've been talking trends and the popularity of what we're seeing with the 90s coming back. So just to reiterate that, I've done a product recap, which you can come back and see this because we upload this. So it was all a product recap on creating smooth, shiny hair, hero products to create that, and why the hairstyles are changing into this. When we saw this trend developing from last summer, and I've been sort of banging on this drum a little bit for the last couple of years because if you have 10 years of a fashion, could it be, tousled waves? It's a bit like going back to when we saw beards with guys. We had a whole decade of Edwardian-looking men running around, wishing to look super rugged, like they were going to reinvent the Industrial Revolution again, or looking like tree loggers, lumberjacks, etc. And it got to a saturation point, and then it just disappears. And then you're going to find the same effect happen with what are we going to look back on, because it's 2022. We're going to look back on the 2010s or whatever, the teens. What will you look back on? You're going to look at it as tousled, beach stroke, textured hairstyles. The designers have now come of age, want to revisit the 90s. They're coming back in with this very, very straight. And dare I say, I've even seen social media stripy highlights. Can you believe that, people? Stripes. I couldn't do that again myself. I've done that once in my career. I don't know if I could actually do it again. I'm sure I would if someone said to me, I've got to do it. But would I want to do it? I'm thinking twice. But for those young hairdressers who hadn't experienced it before, that have left college, look back on that, it suddenly becomes the new. If you've been fed ombres for so long, balayage techniques, suddenly you see this real strong highlight. You're like, wow, I want to do that because it's just so different to what you've seen before. So that is something, even though you're saying, oh, that's not going to happen, it's funny, you will just see it happen because it's already happening in social media, people trying to reintroduce it. There will be some sort of following for that. I mean, it's just like rainbow colours. I mean, 2-3 years ago, we didn't see anything but those. And it's funny now, we've gone back into more of a natural colourance. So I'm hoping that's sort of like getting through that, and we're showing the explanations of it, because I think if you can relate all this to your clients and just make it seem like you are in the know, what's going on, because they always want to come in. There's always that one client, I want something fresh, I want something new, what's happening now? Then you're going to have your other client, I don't want to change, or I want something different, but I don't want to change my colour, I don't want any layers, and I don't really want much off the length. You're like, well, this is a comb, it's not Harry Potter's wand, but you're going to have to deal with that as well. So how do you change that perception? How do you introduce the products that you're going to change? As I said before, laser straight has made a huge comeback for us purely because hair is being more smoother again. And it's self-explanatory because it smooths the cuticle down. The client understands it. What does it do? Straightens the hair out, makes the hard work that much easier. As I always say again, just anyone who missed it, my number one tip for this, if you're doing it, especially if you're doing it at home, apply it to damp hair, comb it through, just leave it. Just leave it, let it sit in the head for just a few minutes. I just find it really adds something to your blow dry as far as the speed and how it works on the hair. Just the penetration of it works great. You got another question there, Mike?
We've gotten to the bottom of JBS Hair. It's
Yep.
Jack from London near Heathrow, and was at the Runway Ready course.
Oh, fantastic. How you doing, mate? Great to hear from you. I presume you thoroughly enjoyed it. It was great feedback. The Runway Ready class is my 2-day, he made my vouch for this as well. It's my 2-day of hell. It's like Hell's Kitchen. When I run around doing an impression of Gordon Ramsay. No, I'm only joking. Just to give you sort of a soft introduction of like what it's like to work backstage. We're always on the lookout for people to do this. I'm going back to the UK in the summer to do like a refresher class or stroke advanced class for this as well, but by their popular demand. And obviously the new classes are coming out as well, going to be doing those. And we will be doing some more here in the summer, obviously, for the summer shows. Obviously starting prior to Swim Week in July. Only it'll be a small team going to Swim Week. We don't need a massive team like New York. So places will fill up extremely fast. I've already got a couple of guys from Canada already said book me on because they're obviously fed up not only with the weather, but old Trudeau up there, keeping them locked up. Maybe they can escape on one of the trucks at the what do you call it? What's the crossway called? I forgot my English.
The border?
The border. They can cross at the border, yeah. Should have that. We've only got a border a few miles away down here in Mexico. Maybe they could cross at the border and run down to Miami. I'm sure it would not be hard. Which will be really interesting to see as well how the say beach hair is perceived and how that has changed as well. Because Miami obviously being notoriously humid, would we be doing as much straight hair? But I doubt if we'll be doing as much textured hair as far as artificially, but also utilising natural texture on hair, I think has been a massive thing for me personally as well. Backstage, the last few seasons, we've been encouraged to use more of their own texture. Go back and have a little look at some of my old videos, Fashion Week. I've got a great one where I'm doing some beautiful curly hair on a model, just using some of the U-Dry Fresh as my finishing tool on her hair, really putting in a lot, shaking it in, really adding something to a natural texture. Any questions or just a little...
A couple shout outs. We've got Charlie Loves Hair.
Hello, Charlie.
Shout out to Gary.
Long time no see. I miss you, mate. How you doing up there in the Bay Area?
And Steffi in Portland is asking, how and where can we stay tuned during Fashion Week?
How can you stay tuned?
Yeah, maybe some updates that we might have for them, or some
when we are there, like we did last season, we did a live, and I would imagine next season we will be doing a lot more of that on the stories, etc. It'll be almost like we did daily recaps.
We did, yeah.
We've done daily recaps when we were there, so you will find that on our feed. If beating that, just come along yourself. Come to the class, come to Fashion Week and be amongst it. You can make your own daily recap then and then send that out to your salon and all your clients can see it, which I think is something very unique. Is that because the class is open to everybody. Doesn't matter your skill level. Everyone can hold a hairpin. It's not inclusive. You haven't got to have 5 years experience, be an amazing superstar. If you're a hairdresser and you're passionate about what you want to do, if you want to experience something different, then that's the class for you. So this.
Yeah. And so, Steffi, the platform would be right here on Unite TV. Once we're out there in July, right, for Swim Week, you can follow along with us for all of that. Yeah.
Right, let's talk fringes. Fringes are another massive trend that is going to be going on. They always are, but they just have subtle differences as well. They're almost like men's suits. Men's suits change every season, but all they change is maybe like the width of a collar, etc., or the pinch of a waistline. Fringes are very much like that. So I've got some hairstyles prepped on here. We already talked about this 1930s-esque bob. Well, the finish on that purely done because this is a popular length of what we're seeing. We've gone up from lobs. You're now seeing anywhere between sort of like chin length down to shoulder. And I almost called this the New York bob that I saw all the models running around with last season. And it was just really noticeable how many of the young girls were running around with this. We've got one of our own behind the camera. She's had hers done on many different guises. She's had a little French little number cut into her hair now, which is great, which is very similar to what I've got here. So lengthwise, that's what we're looking at. Styling-wise, something different. This was a little retro knockback and a little ode to what I'm hoping I might see at the Oscars. We might see a little bit of that. And if we do, then I'm definitely coming back on showing you how to recreate this. I'm going to take it off here. Do a little zoom in. See the little textures on there? Okay, so like a little modern finger wave without being too crazy. Done with a flat iron, very, very quickly. And just the top sections, not the whole head. So it's like a really good cheat. Great, easy to do in a salon. So you can do that easily for a client. Very, very simple. So then we're going to look at a couple of strong fringes. So consequently, obviously, we have got the very, very heavy fringe that we see through here. Obviously better for certain face types and, you know, thick hair as well. Combination of finishes as well. Very, very natural finish this side. And then we've got it smoothed out, but not crazy poker straight, but just smoothed and polished. Consequently, that's going to change your colour applications or your colour choices once again. So different types of product used either side, bit of smooth and shine this side, and on here I've just used a combination of my 7 seconds blowout cream and a little bit of argan oil just to run it through. So it just changes the fabric on this side a little bit. So I've got a little bit of separation. So not straight, not wavy, but I'm just showing you how it gets diffused a little bit. And it just shows you how the hair is sort of like calming down. It has more of a natural look as opposed to something that's been forced, particularly with an iron. Boon's interrupting Mike, our cameraman here. It's quite hilarious off camera. This is the beauty of like what we call, you know, it's almost like live TV. The dog's the size of a horse. He's half Ridgeback, half Great Dane. Boon.
Get up there, Boon. Show him. Go ahead.
Come out here.
Get up there.
Come on, I've got to introduce him to you. He's got to come and do his star turn. Here he is. Look at it. Look at the size of him. Here he is. He's a soppy thing, but he runs around sort of either sticking his little wet nose into people and wanting to say hello. And sometimes he falls asleep down here when I'm talking. Now he might follow me. Anyway, that's Boon. Always a worthy guest on the show. And so then we look at more of the sweeping classic fringe. Don't worry too much about the hairstyle, but it's more of that sweeping fringe that we see through here. So slightly being elongated at the sides, slightly shorter in the middle. The shorter effect in the middle pushes length away from the face. So really, really good if you've got like a heart-shaped face. It's going to open it up just slightly here. Just you can have it longer. It's going to push across the cheekbones. Very, very flattering. And then a popular haircut. I can't remember what they were calling this. There's a certain name for this pixie stroke shag style, like the longer pixie, but it's not like a long shag.
Not the wolf?
It's not a wolf, no.
The pixie?
The what's it?
Pixie? Like a bob pixie?
The Bixie.
Yeah.
Well, it could be something like that. We're going to call it, I might call it the Mixie, which is the same, it's sort of like a shade of a mullet and a pixie. So we call it the Mixie Moxie. So this is just a round layer put all the way through. But what you're seeing through this sweeping fringe, obviously, but the underlying theme behind these is all the length of them. They're not micro fringes. They're not short. They're not chopped into. They're done with purpose, a little bit of weight, but very, very the focus of the hairstyle. And I think, especially with one like this, especially if you had it parted in the middle and you pushed it both ways, that really is what I call like this 1970s French vibe going on. Vogue really just hit it on the head. They just done a post with it, and I've done this on a few people, and I've sent the post to them and said, look, you are bang on Vogue, people, purely because you've just had this done, and it is really, really relevant. So this is your combination of pixie stroke, moulé stroke, bobbish haircut, tuck it behind the ears. You know, it's classic mid-length, so if you're growing bobs out, etc., but you're still keeping them relevant with this focus on the fringe being worn either to the side or to the middle. So, little recap for you. We've talked about the fringes. We've talked about key products for creating these smooth looks and a focus on hair trends and maybe where they're going to change in respect to perhaps the colour trends as well. And we don't do colour, so we're not going to be too heavy on colour, but it's something I'm passionate about purely because they interline with them, and also the products are key to use them with colour. Silky Smooth being a new one, obviously the heat protection this gives you, the longevity of it being like a week-long blow dry. It's great for coloured hair as well, purely because you don't get a colour shift. Generally, if you can, I've used it, I've road tested it on bleached hair with like pastel colours in. If you use irons on those, generally you can lift the colour out, but I'm using some of this, I don't get any colour shift on it, which is great, which is, you know, really doing its job. And out of interest, anyone wants to have an interesting video to look at, I can't remember where it was. A girl did a heat protection test on toast with hair products. And one of them was 7 seconds leave-in conditioner. Guess where that came out on the test? Top. She gave it an A+. It was better than anything else that she used. So, just to give a nice little nod to us on that one, when we say heat protection, you are getting some heat protection out of it, people. So, carry on using it. So, I hope you like that. I'm going to say our next live, out of interest, normally they're every 2 weeks, but the next one will probably be 3 weeks, and I'm going to plan to do a man's haircut on that one, because the last live we did was a young lady's haircut. I think it was about time we do a little bit of men's trends work as well. Show you where that's going. I don't know if I'm on trend. I'm probably like 2-3 decades too late, but what the hell? At my age, it doesn't really matter. It's just good that it's still there. So yeah, little man's haircut coming for you next time and sort of showing you where that is going. Got any questions there, Mike?
We do, yeah. Steffi in Portland is showing a lot of interest about the class, wants to know more about Runway Ready. Okay, Steph, give you the rundown. It's a 2-day class. We almost call it a boot camp because you are put through your paces. And our gentleman in the UK chat, JBS Hairdressing, he can tell you all about that. Just direct message him on Instagram. He'll tell you what he went through. It's a 2-day boot camp. Any experience. We do hold them sometimes here in San Diego, but we also hold them now in New York, obviously where the Fashion Week is, and we hold them in Europe as well because we do Fashion Week, obviously here in New York. Obviously, we're taking on Miami. We'll do Paris and Milan generally in the summer. But there'll always be one as your choice. You can either come here and do it. You can either go to New York, stay in New York a bit longer, do the class, go straight into the shows, which is, I think, is a very successful way of doing it. And once you've done the class, you're guaranteed to work backstage. There is no trick to that. You've done the class. Your position's guaranteed. You are going to work the shows. The shows in New York, they can go anywhere from between 12, 14 to up to 18, 20 shows in a season. So it's not a case of like we're only giving you 1 or 2. You are getting the chance to go to multiple depending on how many days you wish to be there. It's very important. The choice of how many days you work there is entirely up to you. I don't tell you you've got to be there from these dates, etc. If you want to have a day sightseeing, no problem. You can do that as well. So it's very, very flexible. You just have to commit to 2 days of training, and then you're in the team and you do what you like. Be careful, it's very, very addictive. That's pretty much it in a nutshell. Equipment-wise, I don't tell you too much of what to bring. I like to sort of give you the experience of you come along with your kit, so you just bring your kit and you really do then find out what is going to work for you and what doesn't. Because I could tell you to bring something and you might not like it, whereas you're going to find a tool that works for you. And then you're going to say, okay, I can work with this, I can't work with that. You always work in pairs, so you're not stressed about working on your own. You're not going to be left with someone who doesn't know what they're doing, etc. It's all about assessing what your strengths and weaknesses are as a stylist. And it's, that is all part of it, just to give you a foundation, because you can't learn in 2 days, 30 odd years backstage work. You can't. It's just a case of, I want to give you worst case scenarios, and when you go, it's not a frightening experience. You don't freeze. Anything else we can think of? Just that it really is for every level of stylist.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you're at the top of your career, you're going to have a place backstage and be helpful and work in there.
Anyone who wants to do experience it. Basically, that's who it's for.
Yeah.
So
it's very unique in the sense of like there's a ton of education in this industry, but this one happens to be capped with being backstage at Fashion Week.
Generally, it's all a lot of fun. I don't say it suits everybody. It's not for everybody. Some people don't like working in that environment, which is absolutely fine. Some people love it. Some people have hated it the first time they went, and then they've come back and just can't stop going again and again. Alison, who educates for us on this channel, she's one of them. She couldn't stand it. I don't know if she would think she'll mind me saying it. She wasn't that keen the first time we went, but since she's come, she's just like, she loves it ever since. So that is the class in a nutshell. You can come on to class requests at unitehair.com. Will give you the necessary information, but you can also direct message Unite Hair TV as well on Instagram to find that. All our lives are recorded and they're uploaded under live replay tab,
And you can follow us on Instagram at unite_hair TV. I'll repeat that one, unite_hair TV. And any questions, requests, or anything you want to learn about, how old is Boone, what does he eat for whatever, you can email them to unitetv@unitehair.com. And as I said, the next live, because we're away doing a business symposium of some sort for a massive client, it should be 3 weeks, and I will be doing a gentleman's haircut. So once again, thank you all so much for joining. If you see this as a recording, thank you for tuning in to watch this one, and I will see you next time.